From there. So, welcome to the Western Digital Works with NX webinar. I'm here with Keith Tsai. Keith, you want to introduce yourself and what you do at Western Digital?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Keith Tsai. I have 7 years experience in the storage industry, and now I'm taking part marketing in the Western Digital smart video recording, or you say surveillance marketing team.
So technical marketing.
Product marketing, yes.
Gotcha. So you should know technical things that we can ask you.
Right? Well, I cannot code, but for the feature and some product specs, and I can handle it.
All right. So the first part of the presentation is going to be Western Digital. They're going to talk a little bit about their surveillance solutions. The second part of the presentation, I'll go over kind of like how NX manages storage. And then we'll have a little short demo of a Western Digital purple SD card running on a Raspberry Pi. I have my demo system here in Texas. And then we got some just open Q&A time where any of you guys out there can ask questions. So we'll get started first with the WD.
Sure. So next slide, please. Purple. Thank you. So storage is a key technology that for any vSOS and video surveillance solution that you need storage for both ends. That's including the internal drive that's most likely using the HDD and the edge storage that's using microSD. So why choose Western Digital storage solutions? Western Digital, we are the leader in the smart video recording industry. That's how we have shipped multiple exabytes storage to the market last year. And with more than 100,000 integrators that sell our stack and 50 plus ecosystem partners. So through the deep relationship and the project that's with the partners, we have a deep understanding about the surveillance workload. So surveillance market is a very interesting market. It is unlike the normal consumer application that's there's a standard testing script that you can use, like in the Thanksgiving app. I just bought a gaming PC, and you can see the grades that by using a PC Mark 7 or PC Mark Vantage, something like that. But for these smart video recording applications, there's no standard testing script that's how you can use or to use it to compare. So the engagement that's with our partners, that's including the camera OEMs and the NVR OEMs, that are extremely important. That can reduce the compatibility issue and optimize the system performance. So if you ask me, what's the most important character that's in the Western Digital that the partners love to work with us, that's what makes, or you say that what makes WD unique? I would say our broadest product portfolio. So we are the leaders that in both flash and the HDD market. So our products that's covered from endpoint to edge to cloud applications. So as I mentioned, that to make a successful SVR products, that you need to build a deep understanding about the workload that with the partners, which took a really long time. So right now, that partners that they can work with one Western Digital that who can provide all storage products that from the microSD, SSD, that to HDD, that to meet their requirements. That's other competitors that cannot provide. So then that's one of the key reasons that our partners love to work with. So today that I will just brief introduce our 2 new products that we launched recently. One is our Purple HDD 18 terabyte, and another one is our microSD Purple microSD 1 terabyte. And then that I will focus on the car health monitoring features. So next slide, please. So this is our latest and recent launched the Purple 18 terabyte hard drive. So all purple hard drives that are engineered that for the surveillance that to help with then the heat and the equipment vibration that for 24/7's 24/7's continuous operating. And here is the product spec that's this 18 terabytes drive that we support AI stream 32 up to 32 and the performance 272 megabyte per second, and the MTBF is 1.5 millions. So that's except this purple spec, that's our purple drive that also have a product management or proactive management feature that we call a WDDA, the Western Digital Device Analytics. That's WDDA that allows you to monitor the device status that provides device diagnostic data that to a system that you can take proactive actions before the drive goes down. And this 18 terabyte drive is that supports that 6 times workload rating of the desktop HDD, and it's also use our 6th generation Helio seal technology that allow us to expand our capacity. And it's also it's the first HDD that's used the TSA, the triple stage accelerator, that for the performance improvement. And that's this drive also equipped with our O-frame AI firmware that we special tuned for AI applications. So this drive is ideal for a GPU-enabled video analytics appliance.
Hey, what's a triple stage actuator? What does that actually mean?
So you can see that you need a head to read your media, right? And if that's just one single-sided, you need a longer time that to seek and to find it. But if you have a triple stage, which means that you can it's like you have different access that you can use and then to seek it more efficiently.
So it's like a physical,
it's a physical head that is not just one. It's not just one arm, and you have a triple stage that's like a different joint point that you can seek to the right point right away.
So like normal hard drives, they kind of like have a stiff arm, and so they have to move further to find the data. With the triple stage, it just shortens.
I would say like it's migrating. That's for the very old time. It's just one single head, and these days, the majority is two stages. And now that's this is the first HD that uses a triple stage.
And then I have a question though. What's Helio seal technology? What does that do for the drives?
Oh, so in the drive itself, that's how we will fill in. Is not just filling air, but we fill in the Helio. So this way, that's the space that's between disk that can smaller. So.
And helium is a noble gas, so it doesn't it also protects it from like corrosion, that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's
cool. You have AI streams here, 32 as well. I was just curious, do you know how that's calculated?
Yeah, so this number is the one that we work with our OEM partners. That's we use multiple different their systems that to test our drive can work under this 32 streams workload.
Okay, so it would be like AI would be like a video plus associated metadata streams.
Yeah, correct. And so to handle metadata is also need like a cache size and our firmware implementations to optimize it. Yeah.
On the performance side of things, you say 272 megabits per second. Megabytes per second.
Yeah.
So that's like the actual throughput max for the device itself?
Yeah, that's the max one, and
so
you might compare to the SSD that's under a SATA that can up to like a 550, but that's a SSD area, but in the HDD area, I would say that's how 272 is a really good number.
So the general idea here is that you guys plan for people to put these in kind of standard NVR hardware or like a rack server environment, right? Where you're not using like lots and lots of fancy equipment or RAID cards and that sort of stuff as well. It's more about like, so 272 megabytes would be roughly, I think, 1080p cameras. You're talking about 3 megs per camera. So you're looking at like 80 cameras that you could record on a drive at a single time without any issue. Do you guys have any recommendations in terms of like, if you're planning a system, what is the amount of throughput you should put as a percentage of the drive, or does it matter? So like for example, if I'm designing a system and I want to make sure that the hard drives have less chance of failure, is there a percentage that would matter, or is it not really something you need to worry about?
I think we have a tool that can use to calculate that. So actually there are multiple factors that need to consider. That's one is not just the resolutions and the workload, like the bit rate, but also like how many days or hours that data you want to retain, and the quality, right? So actually it's not a simple questions, but we do have a tool that on our website and in the app app store that you can download it, that to input your criteria, and then we will come out as suggestions.
It's like the same tool you guys have for the purple SD cards, right?
Yes. That's right now. That's the same tool that we have a SD card and HDD in the one tool for the app for your smartphone, and for the if you use the browser or web, that's a separate tool. That's one in our HDD and another one in our micro SD card.
All right, I'll stop bothering you. You can go to the next slide.
Thank you. Okay, so next one that is about our 1 terabyte micro SD. So WD Purple micro SD 1 terabyte cards that are built with advanced 96 layer 3D NAND technology, and this ensures ensuring the high sustained performance, the reliability, and the ultra endurance that to handle 24/7's write intensive applications. And okay, thank you. And it also supports the car health monitoring features that I will talk about more. That's in the following slides. And these health monitoring features that help you perform the preemptive storage management that to reduce the TCO and avoid data loss issue with compatible cameras. And this is a high endurance that's for increased longevity. That's up to 512 terabyte rhythm. So in our purple cards, if you look at our website, actually we have different skills that for different endurance level. We have a high endurance, we have ultra endurance, and we have extreme endurance. That's referring to different PE cycle or terabyte rhythm. And this one, that's QD101 1 terabyte. This is our ultra endurance that is a 500 PE cycle and support up to, for 1 terabyte cards, is support up to 512 terabyte rhythm. And this card also support the operation temp is from minus 25 degrees C to 85 degrees C. I think it is also important that this can support tolerance for indoor and outdoor use, because think about it, that for this card is installed that's in the camera, which is on the field or on the top of on your rooftop or on top of a traffic light. So the temperatures, operation temperature spec is really important. And this is ideal for backup storage or primary storage. Okay. Any question regarding this one?
No, there was a question about the 18 TBs. They said, like, can they use multiple 18 TBs in a video server solution, a 2U8 or a 4U16? rack mounted like system? I mean, the answer is yes. You can use like it's just
I
it's a
didn't
hard
see
drive.
one.
Right? It's a hard drive designed for surveillance, so that it has like the endurance, and it has the different features that Keith went over earlier. But yeah, you can. What it really does is it extends. You know, there's a couple trends all the time in IP video. One is higher resolution cameras, right? Another one is higher frame rate cameras. And then you have cameras with analytics in them, right? That are potentially doing some combination. Multi-streaming cameras. The end result, though, is that you end up having more and more data that you need to store related to video surveillance, right? And so as the cameras increase in resolution and frame rate and all those things, they're producing more data. So obviously you need more storage. So the 18 TB size would make it so that you can have a long duration of storage, right? Most of the storage, I think most of the requirements out there, and Keith, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the requirements out there are generally for around 30 days of storage. When you get in like financial environments and in high security environments, you may have 60 or 90 days. So having more storage density allows you to just go into your existing stuff, and especially with NX, just replace your existing drives and keep your existing system, and then increase your storage duration that way, right?
Agreed.
So, all right, so back to this slide.
Okay, so that's this video is we are going to talk about our health monitoring feature, and this video demonstrates the importance of car health monitoring that in a cute way. So most of the camera that are installed in not easy accessible location, like rooftop on the top of our traffic light. So it's not easy for the end customers or end users to install it or do the replacement or maintenance. So the system integrators involved. So if the system integrators that they choose a consumer grade, retail grade micro SD card, there's a potential risk and cause serious problems. So one, the consumer grade that's retail card is not special designed for the SVR application. The spec might show the higher write performance. However, that is a burst mode performance that is not important for the SVR application that we focus on sustained performance. If the sustained performance is not good enough, you will suffer the frame drop issue. And there is no endurance spec that in the most of the consumer grade micro SD. And in the SVR application, the endurance spec is the key factors that you need to consider. We also see some retail cars that specifically mention that their warranty not covered surveillance application in a small footnote. So, and third, that retail grade that not support health monitoring feature, that end users or system integrators that cannot monitor the car health status. So with 1, 2, 3, that the system integrators that cannot prepare or plan ahead for the maintenance schedule, and the system integrator that cannot maximize the service. So the end user might lost valuable video due to a longer system downtime. And in the SVR application, that's you need a card that support health monitoring feature and specify the endurance spec clearly, not a retail car. Wow, that plays so fast. Okay. Okay. So what is the what's the value of a health monitoring feature and what it is? So from the purple microSD product manual, that you will find it that called device health status. This is the health monitoring feature that we are referring to. This feature that allows camera host that to query the SD and micro SD card for informations that's like the usage and the identification. So there are different informations that you can use for the maintenance purpose, like a UECC count, like the book count, etc. And the most valuable attribute is a life remaining. So by reporting back the car's life remaining, the customers that know ahead of the time that when the car reaches to end of life and become unstable. So the end users that you can arrange the maintenance and replace it before any trouble occurred, and it will reduce your system downtime, like we show in the video. And so on the right-hand side, that's how you see this is the user interface example. That's how when the host sends the query to our cars, and our cars will output the data, and then that's this UI shows that the UECC count, the book count, and the life remaining. Thank you. So that's the next slide, please. So what's the benefit of implementing the health monitoring? As I mentioned, this feature allows host that's to issue the command to query the health status. So it's not just the micro SD card needs to support this feature. Well, Purple already supported, but the host also need to implement this feature as well. So we work very closely with camera OEMs, with SoC vendors, that's to enable the car health monitoring feature. So let's take a look. What's the benefit of implementing these features that's for different persona? So if you are the end user, that you are buying the cars that's to choose which car to use. If your camera that support health monitoring feature, you should buy a car that support this feature, like our Purple Micro SD car, that to enjoy the benefit that from health monitoring, that's how you can do any prevent or any preemptive actions. And if you are a system integrators, that's from I think from this presentation and video that you learn that's how these features that can help you maximize your schedule, help maximize your service. So if your systems or the cameras that you are working with right now not support health monitoring feature yet, that you might discuss with your OEMs partners to enable it. Sorry. So, and so this way that you can offer the additional service and the support to your customers. This that to improve your ability to schedule the service. And the third, that's the camera OEM partners. So let's keep work together. That's to enable more and more cameras that support this feature that can to help our customers, that's including the system integrators and the end user. And in the other hand, that we also have a compatibility camera list that is on our WD website that can providing the enhanced promotion opportunity for you and your company.
Hey, Keith, is there a public API or SDK for like developing an integration to this? Like you have the dashboard up there, right? So how does let's say a system integrator wants to develop an interface, for example, that works with NX, right? How would they go about that process?
So to get to let the host issue the command, that's we use the command 56. This is a vendor specific command. So to allow them to issue this, to implement this feature, that you need to know how our command 56 works. So you need to sign an NDA with us, and then that we can provide two things to you. One is that we have Linux demo code that you can use it right away, that if you don't have an engineering resource to implement it. Mm-hmm. And or that we have the Windows-based that tools that you can use it and to design your UI.
Okay, so it's basically a process to sign an NDA and then get access to developer tools.
Yeah, Because the reason is that the Command 56 is a vendor specific, so different vendors that have a different spec and different definitions. And in the other hand, we do discuss about the possibility to make it into the open source, but there's no conclusion yet.
Okay. Is there anything else to add, Keith?
No, I'm ready for Q&A.
All right, so we have a section here for any questions that you guys have for Western Digital. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be related to like this specific content, like open dialogue. If you have questions about like anything, like Keith, what is the percentage of hard drives that fail in the first 3 months?
Well, if you ask me, I would say 0. Just kidding.
Not Western Digital, just hard drives in general. Do you have any like statistics about like hard drive failure rates? Because I know that's a big concern for most end users and integrators out there because of the impact to their systems.
So if my memory correct, that's how we do. Our spec is 3 months is too short. So our spec is defined as like a 1 year or 2 year. And the AFR is like a 0.6 or something. But I can definitely check the spec and share with the team.
Yeah, I remember reading a study by Google that looked at like all hard drives, across all their things. And they also looked at SSD versus HDD, and it was like 3% of hard drives fail on the first 90 days, but then they don't really, after that, they don't fail for like 18 months on average, right? So it's an old study though. It's probably 5 or 6 years old. I was just curious if you guys had any specific stats.
I think right now I don't have that data on my hand, but that's definitely included in our spec, and we can if we can share with the NDA customers.
Yeah, Obi had a question, which is how long do you think on-premise storage will still be around before everyone transitions to cloud?
Is this a question for me or?
I'll take that question, Obi. Like the reality, I think, is going to be you'll always have edge storage or you'll always have on-premise storage because of the redundancy and reliability of the networking to the cloud. Even let's say we get to the point where like, cloud access is ubiquitous and it's awesome. Well, a power failure will still knock out your cloud access, wouldn't it? So like you'd still want to have, like you have a local UPS, right? You still want to have a local storage. So I think it's going to be like an evolution where you're going to see more edge storage, like driven by like SD cards, fast, not a lot of it, maybe a few days of storage locally, and then AI and events are going to become kind of the trigger to send video to the cloud and store it there. Or maybe you have redundant recording where you're recording 2 places at once. And I think that that's already happening. But I think that the internet has to catch up to the surveillance technologies. And I think the surveillance technologies will always have an edge over the internet in terms of like new stuff that comes out that puts more pressure on the internet connections. So I think it's just going to be an ongoing thing where you're going to see long-term storage move to the cloud and key event video and key metadata related video get moved to the cloud for like searching and for data analysis and all that kind of stuff. But for your surveillance applications, you're still going to have edge storage. Most likely the cameras are going to become much more intelligent. And you're going to have almost a serverless environment. So, but that's going to take, I don't know, I'd say conservatively like 10 years, I think, like not so conservatively, like 5 years. Could be faster depending on internet access for the most part. So, all right, well, let's go on to the next section then. Thanks, Keith. I'm going to talk a bit about how Powered by NX products like NX Witness VMS manage storage, just a review for you guys since we're on a storage call. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. So this is the kind of architecture for how storage is managed by NX, and it's a little complex, but we do have cloud storage that's in development. haven't seen a huge demand for it other than backing up longer term video or Kia video clips. But basically your server application is what's responsible for managing storage in a NX witness, right? And if you've got multiple computers here, you've got local storage on each one of the different computers. It could be an edge device as well with an SD card like a Raspberry Pi. But we write to the local drives. We also have the ability to do backup or centralized recording to network attached storage or direct attached storage or iSCSI type storage arrays, or even cloud locations. And so this is just a general idea of how the architecture works, right? In terms of how we manage storage, I mean, there's drive detection and use. All Powered by NX products go out and they detect and they analyze available storage on the computer that the server application is being installed upon during the setup process. One thing that's important about the way that we write to storage is that we write concurrently to all available storage locations based on the size of those storage locations. And the assumption is that if you have a larger drive, it's going to have a higher throughput. And so we can write more to it. And smaller drives are going to have less throughput. So we're going to kind of, stagger what we're writing to each drive so that we fill them up concurrently. And so that we're not overwhelming older tech if you're using multiple different types of drives. We don't allow writing to drives that are less than 10% of the size of the next largest drive in the system. So that means that if you've got like let's say you've got a rack mounted server and you're using an SSD for the operating system drive, and it's, let's say 100 gigabytes, and then your next drive up is going to be like an 8 terabyte. Well, we assume that SSD drive is the operating system drive and that we shouldn't write to it. And it also ensures that we have the correct write ratio calculation, which improves system stability. And of course, we talked about this a second ago, but external drives can also be utilized. So DAS, NAS, SAN, iSCSI, Cold Store is a partner of ours that has a unique way of writing to drives. They treat them like tape drives and write concentrically to them. So it's pretty interesting. So how does writing actually happen? Well, you'll notice if you use our software, there's a little 1 minute kind of period. Let me jump out real fast. I'll show you. So like on a live camera here, if I scroll down to like the nearest term, you can see this little kind of green section here. And what this is it's video in the RAM buffer, and it's a result of the way that we actually manage storage. So while those streams are coming in, we hold in RAM, somewhere, but depending on the bit rate of the camera itself, around a minute before we write it to the final drive location. And that's what that little darker green section is on the timeline, is where we're holding that in RAM, and we haven't made it available for searching yet. It's being written. So we talked about all drives being written concurrently. One thing you can do is one thing that we do is we set a reserve space on each drive. So let's say you have an 8 terabyte drive. Well, we make sure that, let's say 50 or 100 gigabytes of that drive are left open so that we don't fill it up to the point where the drive performance is affected. When the drive's full, the oldest recordage obviously gets automatically overwritten, and users in our software cannot modify the archive using our software. There is a way to manually kind of modify archives, and we have an archive integrity check that was introduced in version 3.2 a few years ago, that basically looks at the archive, and if somebody manually changes the archive, then there's a notification in the system for all the operators and the administrators so they know somebody has physically modified the archive itself, which means that they had access to that particular computer, right? In terms of data continuity, integrity, and failover, if a single drive fails in a multi-drive system or in a redundant recording setup, then the NX server application will continue to write to all the available drives. It'll send a notification to the notifications panel saying drive failure, and it'll allow you to see which drive has failed. And then you can automatically rebuild the archive index after the NX server is restarted later on if that drive comes back online for some reason. There is a feature that we have called failover on hard drive failure, and it's really designed for like ARM boxes and small boxes that have one drive, whereas the box may be continuing to work properly, but let's say the hard drive fails, right? Well, in the past, if the hard drive failed, but the computer was still online, we would still continue to think of it as an online server, but you weren't recording anything, right? So failover didn't occur, which meant that you were losing recorded video. So now if you set up failover on hard drive failure is enabled, then when that drive fails, it'll automatically move cameras to a new server where they have functioning drives so you don't lose recording. If for some reason your computer dies, let's say your power supply burns out or your CPU explodes for some reason, I don't know why. Like I'm just saying, RAM dies. Maybe you bought some cheap RAM. Then you can move the hard drives to a new computer and you can reindex those hard drives and bring them back into a system. We don't care where the information is stored. We always keep an index of where the information is, and it's right next to the drive, so that when you reindex a drive, the way that it's all written, we can go through and say, okay, bring all that information back onto the timeline for you. One thing to note there, though, is if you do have to move drives like that, then one thing you'll want to do is get access to the server database, which is on your OS drive. And then move that over as well if you want to have smart motion search capabilities for those recordings that you want to bring back. So in terms of what archive integrity check looks like, it didn't start at the right point, but that's all right. So you can see here's a video that I made a while ago when we introduced the feature, where I'm going to go in and manually modify the archive, and I delete some files there, right? And what ends up happening is you see the archive integrity problem detected notification come in on the upper right. So that's basically what the archive integrity check does. If you modify those files, you're gonna see that warning to let you know somebody has modified the files. All right. Some other things to talk about with storage management, and we have storage backup options. Obviously, backup feature allows users to back up their archive footage from their servers to network attached storage or direct attached storage or even offsite locations via FTP or cloud. I mean, we have a storage SDK that allows you to put it anywhere. And your options are basically you can do it real time. So I can record 2 places at once, one locally and one cloud-based if I want to. I can record or I can back up based on a schedule, like once per day or once per week. And then that has some additional features like backup until it's finished or backup until this time, right? So that you can basically utilize the network when people are not necessarily working on the network, so you're not impacting the network. Or you can do it on demand. You can literally just push a button and say, I want you to back up now, right? In terms of backup locations, you can use local drives. So if you got a multi-drive system and you want to designate one drive as the backup drive, you can do that. So let's say you have a 4-drive rack 1U server and you've got 3 8 TBs, you can go buy a Western Digital 18 TB and put it in the last thing and use it as a backup for the other 3 drives, right? Or you can use NAS and DAS and SAN and iSCSI stuff. And then in terms of backup options, you can back up all the streams, you can back up high-res streams only, or you can back up low-res streams only. So you have some choices in terms of how the backup works. And just a reminder, all the different components of our VSAS system, our video surveillance system, you got the cloud layer for remote connectivity and scalability, health monitoring. Cloud storage is coming in the next year or so. We'll be launching that. The NX desktop application, which is the client application for Mac and Windows and Ubuntu Linux, runs on basically anything. NX mobile with iOS and Android on the go kind of recording and management of your system. The NX server application, which is for Windows, Ubuntu Linux, ARM devices, virtual environments, and even Docker. And we have a lot of dev tools that if you want to customize your solution, They're completely free. They're available today in the NX Meta Dev portal, and we have a developer forum and knowledge base for anybody who wants to do development to integrate with us or just play around with the system. That's completely open. And then of course we have our integrations ecosystem, which will show you all the all the existing integrations, what we call instant integration tools like HTTP events and actions, plugins. This stuff is built directly into the cloud interface in our application. And anybody who develops an integration can submit there and put it up. And it's a single kind of centralized place for people to find integrations. Kind of like Google Play Store, but for NX, right? And without money. So, all right. So we did play with Western Digital Purple SD cards. Keith and the Western Digital team sent over some to me here in Texas. And we went through, and you may have seen this on our social media or on our website. We built a mini NVR with Western Digital. So if you haven't seen that, let me open it up for you. Just a second. You can go to our webpage. I made a video and basically told you how to build it. I think, and the things you're gonna need to build it. And then I did a real basic installation of Raspberry Pi with NX Witness VMS and with the WD Purple running on it. And I actually use it in my demo system here. So this is my Texas office, also known as my house during COVID. And you can see here, we've got a Raspberry Pi with a WD Purple SD card on it. And if I go to server settings here, then I can see there's a 470 gigabytes of usable space on the 512 gigabyte card that I have. And it's enabled for storage here. And if I go look at the analytics, you can see I've got one camera that has 30 gigabytes of storage on it and 7 days and 4 hours. And I've got other cameras that have been on there before that have an additional 400 gigabytes of storage. Right? And if I go here for forecast for full storage, then I can go in and I could say, okay, you know what, I'm going to replace this one with a, let's say, a 1 terabyte, which wasn't out when we did this test, right? But it's out now. So if I wanted to add half a terabyte to get us up to closer to 1 terabyte, then I would go, let me go backwards again. From 11 days and 22 hours, if I add an additional half terabyte, I'm going up to 26 days and 8 hours for how much storage I've got. So pretty cool. And you can see, I mean, it's working fine. Here's the Raspberry Pi running the WD and recording this camera, which is a 1920 by 1080 camera running at 30 frames per second. And you can see the storage is actually this one here, I think. So you can see it do read writes, and you'll see it jump up and down like that because every minute, remember, we're writing to the drive. But you can see the CPU usage and the RAM usage on the Raspberry Pi. And this is the Raspberry Pi 4 Model B with a camera running on it with me connected to it, recording all the footage. If I want to grab more cameras and I want to throw them on there, I can. Right? I'll just throw all my cameras on there. Why not? When they go to red is when they're recording. So you can see I knocked up the CPU usage to about 14% now. And you can see that latest drive right here. So now it's recording 4 different streams. These are 1080 plus, closer to 4K. And then I have my Garage AI camera here, which is showing me object tracking. It's doing the analytics plus the video, right? And it's coming in at 4K. So I got 4K, 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 and then 1080p all running on a Raspberry Pi with a WD Purple SD card. And I've had it running now for, how long have I had it running for? Let's see. So if you go to the server web page and log in, go to information, then we can see our health monitoring information here. And the uptime, this says 6 days, but that's wrong. That's the last time I restarted it. I've had this running since, I want to say August. When was it? Let's look at the page. When did we create this page? I forgot. Was it August, Keith? You remember?
Yeah, that's I think 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, it's been running for 3 months and I haven't had any issues with it. So in terms of the reliability of the SD card, that's always been a concern for us and for integrators, because SD cards have always been kind of traditionally unstable, right? And the WD Purple SD cards is just looks like a fundamentally different experience. So that's a demonstration of the WD Purple card running on a Raspberry Pi. Keith, you have a question?
Yeah. So looks like the benefit to build this systems that actually one is that can reduce the hardware cost, right? And another one is that this is easy implemented because you have a step-by-step instructions that's in the website.
Yeah,
So,
this is really for more like home tinkerers, to be honest, where if we have use cases where people have used Raspberry Pis in remote environments with like environmental cases, where they need to have 1 or 2 or 4 cameras viewing either like a remote power station or solar panels in the middle of nowhere. In Australia, we have a couple partners who've done some pretty large Raspberry Pi based installations, but again, just for like remote monitoring for the most part. And that's where the WD Purple SD card works really well, because in the past, you couldn't use the Raspberry Pi because the Raspberry Pi doesn't have a SATA connector on it, right? So if you wanted to add a hard drive to a Raspberry Pi, you could, but it was a bit, you had to buy some extra bits and pieces to get it to work, right? This simplifies that process a lot by letting people who want to do Raspberry Pi based stuff just go ahead and grab an SD card. And it's not just Raspberry Pi. I mean, there's developer boards out there that support SD cards that people use to build what we call ARM single board computers often for this type of application.
got it. Thank you. So it's not actually, it's also not just targeting for normal DIY or that's as you mentioned, that's if some small business that they want to use it, they can also use it.
Yeah, I mean, with the SD card from Western Digital now, it opens up a lot of opportunities for single board computers that are SD card based, right? It could be a camera, could be lots of things. There's cameras now that run our server application independently, right? So it's basically a serverless system. In the past, that was difficult because of the SD card, but now there's a viable option, right? So.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So that's the demo, and we have we have another 10 minutes or so for any questions that you guys have, either about these topics or any topic in general. Feel free to ask away. And if there are no questions, that's okay too. Any questions at all? Keith, no more questions?
Just looks like not. I'm good.
All right.
Maybe that's
Jolene, that's not a question.
I think the biggest question right now is when can we back to normal? No, just kidding. Yeah.
When can we get back to normal? I think summer of next year. What do you think, Keith?
Yeah, that's same here. That's I think maybe Q3, but Q1, Q2, I personally I don't think so.
And Jolene confirmed that there's only 2 Siths at one time, so that's good. Yeah, I think that COVID has been an eye opener for a lot of the world. Speaking of COVID, though, I should show you guys something real fast. We put together a list of COVID-19 kind of detection and tracing technologies in case any of you guys were looking for them that work with NX. They're both camera-based and server-based, so you can go to our website and just search for COVID detection, COVID-19 detection, and you'll find this page. But with regards to like when we're going to get back to normal, I think you know, the current feedback is that most of there's 3 vaccines that are ready to go, right? But they have to be approved, and then we're talking about like second half of December, people start to get vaccines, right? But you're only going to talk about a small percentage of the population, and then from that point forward, it's going to be just a matter of time and getting everybody vaccinated, which most of what I've listened to in terms of podcasts and news indicates more like May or June, which is great because then it'll be time for the summer. We can all go to the beach and stuff and have a good time. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm going to let everybody go early then. We thank you guys for attending. I appreciate you taking some time out to learn about Western Digital and network optics. And thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Tony, providing this great opportunity to work together. Thank you, and thank you, everyone.
Awesome, guys. Awesome, guys. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
See you.
Bye.